In the evening, by the fire, Agasha told how her mother taught to read and write. "It is bad for an illiterate. Mom taught us all," says Agafya. They began to teach her the alphabet from the age of 4, and by the age of 7 she was already reading the Psalter well. She showed us this old, all decayed book and read something from there. It even turns out beautifully, sonorously in a sing-song voice. You even somehow involuntarily get involved in this rhythm. By analogy, I recall that one of the books from which Mikhail Vasilyevich Lomonosov studied was the Psalter, translated by Semyon Polotsky, the first professional poet in Russia. In the Lykov family, Natalya studied the most difficult, godmother, as Agasha calls her. The rest of the letter was given easily. By the age of 7, Agasha could already read the Psalter by heart, and this is a thick book. Her abilities are clearly great. Nikolai Petrovich wrote and showed her the Arabic count to 10, which she does not know at all. Their numbers are represented by letters, so she learned it right away. For the night, he again made Agasha a paraffin bandage in the presence of his grandfather, who was silent, glanced and did not utter a word. Agasha tied woolen stockings on top of the applique to keep warm, sent by Lykov in one of the many parcels sent to them from all over the Union. The candles, by the way, were also taken from those sent. After the first application, the pain in the arm and the swelling decreased. The night was very cold today, with rain. The sleeping bag will open a little, you immediately freeze. August 27. The morning is cold, dewy, a kind of prolonged, slowly flaring up. But then the sun came out, it got warmer. Today there are somehow especially many songbirds, which are filled with all voices. How changeable everything is in the Sine Mountains. It was hot, as in the height of summer, then suddenly hail and cold. After breakfast, Lev Stepanovich and I throw away the earth with stones from the storage shed so that it would become higher and the bear could not climb into it. Agasha, Elvira Viktorovna and Nikolai Petrovich went to the upper hut. Elvira Viktorovna needs to draw something else there, and Agasha has her own household chores. The day is sunny and warm today, but a kind of brooding autumn. A stream runs down and murmurs. Sometimes it seems that it is not a stream that sings at all, but people are talking. Silence and grace. And the amazing is near. In the morning, under the rock, I found several gooseberry bushes. Where from? Something else in the sign Taga. I have not met him, although I have been walking in the Taga for several years. A few steps from the hut there are raspberries, on which there are still berries, bird cherry, blueberry, mountain ash and even gooseberry. You can pick so many varieties of berries at one time, usually ripening at different times. Amazing. And the cedar tree surrounds the hut from all sides, and we all, in our free time, continuously, like chipmunks, gnaw cones or pine nuts. Agasha always makes sure that our reserves in his pocket do not decrease. Despite the amazing Taga air, abundance of berries and quite tolerable food, all members of the expedition noted lethargy, apathy, poor appetite, weakness, and sometimes even shortness of breath. There were significant fluctuations in blood pressure on different days. What is the reason? Did you work a lot out of habit, or does the climate change in the highlands, about 1500–2000 m above sea level, affect? You will need to find out from geologists what the barometric pressure is in these places. Maybe this corner is not so heavenly. The grandfather sat in the hut until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, did not show himself. Then he went out and asked, maybe prepare the moss. What do you think? Will they make an extension to the hut? I answer, I think, since the foresters promised, they will do it. And we will remind you on the way back. Then Karp went for the moss, and on the way he looked at the storage shed we had made. Prior to that, he did not show any interest in him, although the storage shed for them is the first necessity, because the time has come to collect the pine nut and it needs to be put somewhere. One gets the impression that Karp entered the storage shed only because he was on the way. The lack of interest in the storage is not clear. Either he completely trusts Agasha and she tells him everything we already know for sure, or it does not bother him at all. Having looked at the storage shed, the grandfather, it seems, was satisfied. I am very grateful, they have worked hard. They really did a lot of work there, even today, when they were choosing soil from the storage shed. Clearing the Taga rubble, removing the sod, all overgrown with the roots of trees and grasses, scrubbing stones, this is not a very easy job. All day we drink Taga tea, a mixture of currants, lingonberries, blueberries, mountain ash and wild rosemary. How lovely. I already miss home, my thoughts more and more often return to it. How are my girls? Are you healthy? I notice that Karp does not really take everything on faith. Checks, asks the same thing, then one, then the other. Grandfather and Agasha's vocabulary is quite large, but to a large extent bookish. They speak freely about everything, figuratively and vividly. Yesterday, by the fire, I told my grandfather and Agasha about the success of medicine. In particular, he told them that it is possible to revive a deceased person. Grandfather asked, always? I explained. He asked a couple more questions and clearly did not believe what I told him. And Agasha sat deep in thought for a long time. What was she thinking? Maybe the dead brothers and sister. Maybe that they could still be saved. But, probably, we will never know the train of her thoughts. Agasha showed us a folding, portable icon. It depicts all the divine holidays. Tomorrow Assumption, the Mother of God is placed in a coffin. Before that there was a 2-week fast, it was impossible to eat food of animal origin. The Transfiguration was last Friday. Today Agasha brought the sklat from the upper hut on the river. He is old, all smoked. Agasha says that it can be cleaned if immersed in water with soaked milk mushrooms. Agasha brought a folding fold, holding it in a clean towel. And then, talking, she got carried away and took him in her hands. I asked her, can I take it with my hands? She caught herself, immediately grabbed it with a towel, said, you can be clean. Then she brought the icon of street. Nicholas, saving people from drowning and something else, and enthusiastically talked about him. August 28. Today is the holiday, Assumption, nothing can be done. The Lykovs all morning, longer than usual, read a prayer, sing in different voices. The day is grey, sometimes it rains. At about 12 o'clock we set off with our honest company, Elvira Viktorovna, Nikolai Petrovich and I, to the lake. First, a steep descent along the rocks to the Abakan River for 20 minutes. Then we turn up Abakan and in 10 minutes we notice a lake between two mountains. We make our way to him through the jungle, walk along the continuous blueberries and lingonberries, it is even somehow awkward to step. On the way, we eat red and black sour cherry, large honeysuckle and, of course, blueberries and lingonberries. And on the Kurimnik around the lake there is a surprisingly red and sweet rosehip. We are gaining vitamins for the whole year and a long winter. We went out to the lake and were stunned. Such a stunning, majestically severe beauty. The lake is small, about 150 by 300 meters, sandwiched between rocks. The transparency of the water is extraordinary, it seems that there is none at all. At the bottom you can see all the stones, silt and tracks of some animals, probably a bear and an elk. Obviously in hot weather, they come here to quench their thirst and cool off. The water is of such transparency that I have not seen even on Lake Baikal. Huge boulders are scattered at the edge of the lake, on which small cedars and spruces grow. Particularly beautiful is one triangular stone, further deeper into the lake. He is like a boat. On its back stands an even fluffy cedar, like the mast and sail of a ship. The water in the lake is very cold, like a spring. There are no fish in it, only some small creeks are swarming. I saw these on the Slotakovo lake in Tuva, known for its healing properties. Maybe this lake is healing too? The depth is shallow, although very difficult to determine due to the incredibly clear water. While Elvira Viktorovna, having chosen a place higher on the barrow, draws Agashino Lake, as we decided to call it, Nikolai Petrovich and I will examine its shores. I, like a bow, crossing and jumping from stone to stone, rolling up my wanderers, trying to get to the ship. However, clear water is deceiving. Having scooped cold water into my boot, I returned to the shore with nothing. And right away on the clay bank I came across an imprint, probably very fresh. It rained in the evening and in the morning, but all the cracks in the clay were not blurred at all, of a bear's paw. This track is 2 palms wide. I called Nikolai Petrovich to photograph this autograph of the master of the Taga. A little further we find another older bearish print, but much smaller, probably a bear. Again we meet the gooseberry, and next to it is already ripe mountain ash. In the lowland we came across raspberries. Here are miracles. We found some other shrub with reddening small oblong berries. It looks like a barberry, but none of us know exactly what it is. And all around there are tall mountains, wild stunning beauty. Jumping over the stones like goats, we climb the rocks. From here, the lake can be seen at a glance, green. And suddenly, under my feet, among the stones, I find nettles. Where do nettles come from here on these steep rocky slopes? Again the riddle of the Siam. I cast a glance to the left and see that some animal, very similar to a tiny bunny, has perched 10 meters from us. Nikolai Petrovich photographs him. An attempt to get closer ends in failure, the animal disappears. Just now it was warm and sunny, and now it got dark. Black clouds are approaching from the upper reaches of the Abakan. Seems to be rain and thunderstorm. You can hear the noise of Abakan in the distance several times. Cairo barked, which for some reason ran away from us 2 hours ago. In nature, everything froze. You can feel the expectation of changes. Everything is in anticipation, some mysteries are taking place. But, a little rain fell and the clouds dispersed. While our artist is painting, I remember how in the morning Agasha gave me a knife made of Lithuanian linen. I wanted to give a ladder for reading Theotokos, but asked if I knew this prayer. I replied that I do not know, but I hope she will tell me. Agasha promised to write a prayer, but she didn't give me a compliment, probably until I learned the prayer. I think that these gifts are not accidental, because today, Assumption, is a great holiday for the Lykovs. So Agasha decided to please us. In the morning, she herself is sporting a new lapatine and a red scarf, presented to her by Nikolai Mikhailovich. At 6 o'clock in the evening, the study, Agashino Lake, is finished and we set off on the way back. We go down to Abakan and go downstream. On the way we try to fish with a spinning rod and a fly, but all to no avail. Even at the cheeks, where huge green pits and boulders and according to all the fishing signs should have taimen, lennox and grayling, you can't hear or see fish. The river is dead. Why? Did the poachers have time to amuse themselves here in this wilderness? We decide to go to the hut by the lower road. To do this, go around the right cheek from above. We climb the rock, look down and freeze with admiration. The river rushing below is all green, from a pale greenish color in shallow places to malachite in pits. The river is well and far visible, sandwiched in tall rocks and mountains. We go down to the path and notice in the bushes the carefully sheltered boat of the Lykovs. The brothers did it when they were alive and we saw it 3 years ago. This boat is not completely completed and, of course, will not be completed now. She is an old hidden dream of the Lykovs. This is a long pie about 10 meters, hollowed out of a huge cedar cut down nearby. We saw the stump of this cedar, it is simply incredible. Perhaps this cedar was at least 500 years old, and maybe more. What a huge amount of work was put into this cyan pie. And all to no avail. It's a pity, sincerely sorry for these people. Not far from the boat, in the sand, we again notice the tracks of a bear, obviously not very large. We go out onto the trail and begin a long climb up the hill. After passing about 300 meters, we come across a fresh torn up log, all around the traces of a bear and its claws on the fallen trees. What we see gives our tired legs strength, and we overcome a long, difficult climb to the hut quite quickly. And our Cairo disappeared somewhere. It is not at the hut, it did not come even at night. From the river I took with me a bunch of white, unknown to me, flowers, shaped like tansy flowers, but larger. Returning to the hut, I presented them to Agasha, congratulating him on the divine holiday. She smiled embarrassedly, blushed. Still would. This was probably the first bouquet she was given. She said, not knowing whether to accept it or not, we don't know anyone. Will wither. I explained that if you put it in a jar of water, the flowers will stand for a long time. He brought a jar of water and we put the bouquet in it. Then Agasha again faced a difficult task, where to put the bouquet. One of ours advised the table. However, this proposal was rejected as sacrilege. According to the Lykovs, it is impossible to put anything on the table except food. The embarrassed Agasha went with the bouquet to the hut. And in the morning I saw my bouquet from the street. She put it on the windowsill. The wind roared all night and the Taga moaned alarmingly. The noise is such that, lying in the tent, you involuntarily think, if a bear comes, you will not hear it, even if it comes close. The night is surprisingly warm, it's even hot in the sleeping bag. By morning it started to rain. The darkness is all around, the mountains are covered with clouds. Under the blows of raindrops, aspen leaves knock like iron. Please share this video on your social networks, using the buttons under the video and subscribe to the channel. I ask you to go and watch other videos about Agafya Lykova, which you can see now on the screen in the end screensavers. There are a lot of rare and interesting facts about the Hermit. Thank you all for watching.